Hello students, this video lecture is about procedures and function in Visual Basic Language. Myself Yogita, Assistant Professor Computer Science from Pandit Nekiram Government College, Rohtak. The first of all we discuss what is a procedure. Procedure is a named set or block of code statements that performs a well-defined task. Now we discuss why there is a need to introduce the concept of procedure in programming languages. As all of you know that in most of the programs, application, projects or software, there is a need to repeat same code again and again. So there is a total wastage of time and effort if the same code is written again and again. So there is a need to develop a method so that a code can be written only once and it can be used multiple times or it can be used whenever required. So the concept of procedure is introduced in programming languages to enhance or to support the concept of reusability. Now the next slide about the advantages of the procedure. The first advantage of the procedure is the modular programming, means break the large problem down into smaller one. Suppose there is a complex problem, then with the help of procedure you can break down a complex problem into small understandable pieces. Next advantage is it can be used for repeated or shared tasks. It acts as a container for code to be called multiple times, means we can save our programming time by allowing us to reuse the same code over and over or again and again in our program. The last advantage is it makes the code easy to understand, means it increases the readability in our program so that a change can be made once in a procedure rather than multiple times in our program. So it also increases the maintainability. Now we can call a procedure by many different names in programming languages. We can call it method, we can call it subroutine, we can call it functions. This slide is about the general form of the procedure. First of all, there is a declaration statement, also known as the procedure header. After that, coding statements, or we can say the body of the procedure. At last, there is the ending statement, or we can say there is the closing of the procedure. Now we discuss about the types of procedures in Visual Basic Language. There are three varieties or categories of procedure types in Visual Basic Languages. First one is the event sub-procedure, next one is the general purpose sub-procedure, and last one is the function. First one is the event sub-procedure. It performs a logical action, it does not return a value, it executes when event occurs not called from the code. Up to now, you see in Visual Basic software in the code mode about the event sub procedures like private sum, form load, private sub, command one click. All these are event procedures. These are the event procedures and these are executed when an event occurs, like click, double click, key up, key down, likewise, and not calling by the coding statements. Next one are the general purpose sub-procedure. We can call the event procedure, or we can compare the event sum procedure to the built-in procedures, and general purpose sub-procedure to the user-defined procedures. Likewise, the event sub-procedures, general purpose sub-procedures also performs a logical action, does not return a value, but the main difference is that they must be called from some other code. That is, the general purpose sub procedure are called by some coding statement. The last variety or last type of the procedure is the function. Function is also like a procedure, but it does return a value. It performs the calculation. It also performs a logical action, and it must be called from other code like the general purpose sub procedure. Now, first of all, we discuss in detail about the sub procedure. We can call the sub procedure as the subroutine also. So we can use the term sub procedure or subroutine interchangeably. Now, next point regarding the sub procedure is that sub procedures are written to perform specific tasks as discussed earlier. Next one is the general purpose sub procedures are not triggered by events. Means they are not called by the events. They are called by the some coding statements located at some other location in the program. The last point is the event procedures are the special sub procedures that are not called from the statements but rather are executed when an corresponding event occurred, like the click, double click, key down, key up, likewise. Now there is a syntax of the sub procedure. Private, public, friend, static, sub, subname, argument list, statements, exit sub, and sub. Now we discussed it in detail, all these terms in detail. First of all, you see on the screen private, public, friend, static. These are the visibility modes, or we can say access specifiers of a procedure. It is an optional, means if we don't specify private, public, friend or static, then by default Visual Basic take the procedure as in the public mode, means its visibility mode set to the public. Now we see the different visibility modes of a procedure. First one is the public. If you set the visibility mode of a procedure public, then it will make a procedure accessible to all other procedures in all modules and forms. Suppose there are 10 forms in a project, and if you set the visibility mode of a procedure or subroutine to public, then it is accessible to all other 10 forms or modules. The second one is the private. If we set the visibility mode of a procedure to the private, then it will make a procedure accessible only to the other procedure in the module or of the form in which it is declared. Suppose the sub-procedure with the visibility mode private is defined in the first form, and in the project there are 10 forms. Then other 9 forms can't use that procedure. Only the procedures available in the first form can use that procedure. Now we continued with the visibility mode. The next visibility mode is the friend mode. The friend keyword is used only in the class module and specifies that the procedure is visible throughout the project but not visible to the controller of an instance of an object. In simple words, we can say a friend visibility mode is in between the public and private mode. If you set the visibility mode to friend, then it is visible only to those modules or the forms to which it is declared friend. The last visibility mode is the static. Static keyword specifies that the procedure local variables should be preserved between the calls. As we all know that a procedure can be called multiple times, and in between the two calls, suppose the first call and the second call, the value of the variable is lost. And if we want that the value preserved between the first call and the second call, then we set the visibility mode of that procedure to the static. It is very useful in case of counters. Means this visibility mode static is very useful in case of counters. Next is the subname. Subname, name used to refer to the sub. Means subname refers to, means if you want to put the name of a subroutine or procedure, then follow all the rules you used for naming a variable. Next one is the argument list. Argument list, a list of variables or values being passed to the sub-procedures separated by comma. Last one is the sub, exit, and all these are keywords. Exit keyword is used if you want to premature exit from a procedure. Whenever a compiler encounters the exit statement, it terminates the procedure and control is transferred outside. Now, the next important question is how to call a subroutine or procedure. It is very simple. We can call a subroutine with the help of call keyword and without call keyword. The use of call keyword is optional. As you see on the screen, the syntax to call a subroutine. Call is the keyword, subname is the name of the subroutine, and name of the arguments or the argument list is given in the bracket. As you see on the screen, one example of calling a subroutine, that is power, with the help of call keyword, and without call keyword 5, 2 are the actual arguments. Now there is one subroutine example, subroutine program. This program is about to calculate the area of the rectangle. Here you see on the screen there is one event procedure, command one click, and compute area. This is the general procedure or the subroutine. Here our main focus is on the general procedure, so let's discuss about that. Here compute area is the name of the subroutine, sub is the keyword. Before the sub keyword, no visibility mode is specified, either public, private, friend, static. So by default, Visual Basic set the visibility mode of compute area to the public. As this program is about to calculate the area of the rectangle, so two parameters, two arguments are given to it, length as single, width as single. These are the formal arguments or the formal parameters. Dim area as single, this area is equal to length into width. This is the logic to calculate the area. After that we print the area, that is the value of the area. At last there is the end sub, that is the ending of the procedure or the ending statement or the ending statement of the procedure or the subroutine. Now we call this compute area on the command one click event procedure. Call compute area lngwid. lngwid, these are the actual arguments. The value 5 is assigned to lng and the value 10 is assigned to wid. So this program will give the output is equal to 50. I hope this program is very much clear to you. It is very simple. Now the last variety or third variety of the procedure is the functions. Functions are just like the procedures, but the main difference between a function and procedure is that function must return a value. A function must return a single value. There are two varieties of functions, or we can divide functions into two categories: user-defined functions and built-in functions. User-defined functions as defined by the user or by you. Built-in functions are the library functions or the functions already defined in the Visual Basic language. just like mathematical functions, string functions, format functions, etc. These functions can be used directly. Now we discuss about the syntax of the function. As you see on the screen, the syntax is very much similar to the procedure syntax with one difference as return type. Let's see. Private, public, friend, static, these are the visibility modes. Function is the keyword. In the subroutine syntax, here sub keyword is used, but in the function syntax, we use the keyword function. After that, the name of the function, argument list, and after that as keyword and return type, statements, exit function, and function. Now we discuss in detail about the syntax of the function. First visibility mode is the public. As discussed earlier, if we set the visibility mode of a function, then public keyword makes a function accessible to all other functions in all modules and the forms. Suppose a project have 10 forms, then in first form you set the function's visibility mode to public. Then this function is available in all other 9 forms also. Next visibility mode is private. Private keyword makes a function accessible only to the other functions in the module of form in which it is declared. Means suppose in a project there are 5 forms. In first form you have defined a function and set its visibility mode to private. Then this function is available in that very form only. Other 4 forms can't access that function, or this function is not available to the other forms of the project. The next visibility mode is the friend. Friend keyword is used only in the class module. Means if we set the visibility mode of a function to friend, then it is available only to those modules or the forms to which it has been declared as the friend. Friend keyword specifies that the function is visible throughout the project but not visible to the controller of an instance of an object, because friend is bounded not to a particular object, it is bounded to the whole class. Okay. Next visibility mode is the static. Static keyword specifies that the function's local variable should be preserved between the calls. Suppose in between the 2 calls there is a first call and a second call. The first and second call, the value of the variable is lost. Suppose you want to preserve the value in between the first call and the second call, then you can use the static keyword. This static keyword is very helpful in case of counters. After that, the name of the function, the name used to refer to the functions, follow all the rules for naming a function that you follow while naming a variable. After that, argument list, a list of variables or values being passed to the function separated by the comma. Function, exit and end, these are the keywords. Exit keyword is used to premature exit from the function. Means it tells the compiler to stop the function immediately and the control is transferred outside. Now, how to call a function? Calling a function is very much similar to calling a subroutine. We can use the call keyword, it is optional. We can call a function with call keyword and without call keyword. As you see the syntax, call, function name, argument, same as calling the subroutine. Example, call power, here power is the function, 5, 2, these are the actual arguments. Now this is the function example. Compute area, this is the function. Function is the keyword. Before function, no visibility mode is specified. So Visual Basic set its visibility mode to public. 2 arguments are passed, L and W. A is equal to L multiplied by W to calculate the area. Now this value A is assigned to compute area at last the end of the function. Now this is called to the function area is equal to compute area lng comma give. Now the one thing that is different from the subroutine example is the as single. This is the return type. With the we specify the return type single with the help of as keyword. Otherwise the example is same as the subroutine. Now one more important topic is the difference between pass by value or pass by reference. We can pass the arguments by value as well as by reference. If we pass the arguments by value, then a copy of the value of the arguments is stored in the parameter location. Any changes in that value made by the called procedure are made only to the parameter location. Original argument from the calling procedure will not change. And next one is the arguments passed by reference. The reference of the variable used as the arguments is stored in the parameter locations. Parameter references the original variable's memory location. Any changes made by the calling procedure are made to the original variable from the calling procedure. That is, if you pass the arguments by value, when an argument is passed by value, only a copy of the variable is passed. This means that even if the values are modified by a subroutine, those modified values remains local to that subroutine. When the subroutine exits and returns control to the calling program, the variables that were passed by value retains the same value they originally had before the call. In Visual Basic, we use the keyword by val to pass the argument by value. Next one is the by reference. When the variables or arguments are passed by reference, only memory addresses of the variables are passed. This means that values passed can be modified by the subroutine and would have the new values after the subroutine exits and return control to the calling program. A variable that is expected to contain a return value or the output value must be passed by reference. We use the keyword by reference BYREF to indicate the arguments passed by reference. Now we clarify it with the help of example of by val and by reference. As you see on the screen, there is the one procedure that is change value. Here we pass num as integer this argument by value by using the by val keyword. In this example, in this program, two memory locations are used, one for var and one for num. First of all, 4 value is assigned to the var and it will give the output 4. After that, we call the change value procedure. Now, when we call this procedure, the value of the var 4 is copied to the num, and after that the value of the num gets doubled and it will give the output 8. But after the completion of this procedure, the memory location used to store the value of the num is deleted. Means the value of the num that is gets doubled 8 is deleted. When the control is again transferred back, then the var again retain its original value, that is 4. That because in this example two memory locations are used, one for var, one for num. So when first of all the value of the var is 4, when the control is transferred to change value procedure, then its value is copied to num and its value gets doubled. But after the completion, after the termination of this procedure, the memory location used for num gets deleted, means value stored at that memory location is forgotten, and when the control is again transferred back, then var again retain its original value, that is 4. Next is the by reference example. Same example is here, but here we pass num not by value but by reference. We use the keyword by ref here in this example. When we pass the argument by reference, only a single memory location is used for var and num. First of all, the value of var is 4. It gives the output 4. After that, when we call the change value procedure, then the value of the var copied to the num and it gets doubled. It gives the output 8. And after the completion of this procedure change value, the memory location forgets only the num variable, not its value. So when the control is again transferred back, then var gets the new doubled value, that is 8. This is the difference between by value and by reference. I hope you will understand it very well. I hope so. This video lecture is very helpful for you in understanding the concept of procedures and functions. Thank you. Have a nice day.